Hey everybody, it is Elise. Having a little bit of technical problem, but I think we're fine. So I hope we're live. If you're here with me, thank you for being here. It is Wednesday at noon Pacific time, which is when I'm usually out in front of you doing some kind of either coaching or an interview or giving you some kind of presentation on a topic that I think you will enjoy. Hey Julie, thanks for joining me. So today we are going to talk about the beauty of imperfect action, and I'm going to wait just a little bit to have more people join me, which would be lovely. If you are new, I am streaming this from a third-party app called StreamYard, and it interfaces with Facebook very nicely, except for the fact that if you're joining me, I can't see you. You will show up in the comment section as a Facebook user, and so I'd love to know who you are. So if you are putting a comment in, and I'd love to have you do that if you are joining me, just let me know that you're here by putting a comment in the comment section. Put your name in so I can see who you are, and I can talk to you, not at you, talk with you, not at you, which I hate to do. So also, if you are seeing this on the replay, please also know that I circle back throughout the day and I look at comments and respond to them. So it's not like you are not getting my full attention. I always make sure that I'm in conversation with you, even if you're watching the replay. So don't hesitate to do that. So let me get started. This is going to be quick. It's one of my favorite topics. So let me step back and introduce myself. I'm Elise Tager. I'm a business coach for ambitious female entrepreneurs and creator of the Solo to CEO Launchpad. Solo to CEO program. I help women who are solopreneurs or are in solopreneur mindset move to become the true CEO of a booming business by creating the skills that they need to really take charge of their business and help it grow. So the topic today is the beauty of imperfect action. You know, I love the phrase imperfect action because to me, it suggests forward movement. It reminds me anyway that there is no such thing as perfection, and I'd rather you move forward than you stay stuck in the attainment of the unattainable, which is what perfection is. So if you are someone who clings to perfection paralysis, being anything but perfect is probably slowing you down and crippling your business growth. Join me as we discuss the freedom that comes with allowing yourself to lighten up even just a little bit. So there are three things I'm going to talk about, and I said this is going to be quick. The first thing is perfection paralysis, which is kind of a corollary to the beauty of imperfect action, or the concept of imperfect action. Perfection paralysis is where you are so stuck in being perfect that you can't move forward. You can't get a job done. You can't get a proposal submitted. You can't get a check written. You can't get to the next step with what you're doing because you're in the paralysis of having it be absolutely perfect. And that's called perfection paralysis. So what is this all about? Where does it come from? I think one of the things that you want to think about if this is describing you is what are the messages that you got as a kid maybe? You know, what were you taught that things had to be perfect before you move forward? Were you taught that there was such a thing as perfection? Were you perhaps made fun of or found wrong if things weren't? Hey, Teresa, thanks for joining. If things weren't perfect, were you made wrong by that? So if you're in perfection paralysis and you find yourself dotting that I and crossing that T way too many times and you're not getting things done, take a step back and think about where in your upbringing or where in your life the whole concept of perfection has come from. Why is it necessary to you? Who defined perfection when you were growing up or when you were younger? Perfection paralysis also leads to procrastination. They're completely tied up. So one of the things that you might be doing without knowing it is you're procrastinating doing something because you don't want to get it done, because you don't have confidence in yourself. You don't have confidence in the what of what you're creating. You don't, whatever the thing, you don't want to do it. So you're procrastinating getting it done. And the way you procrastinate is to decide that it's not good enough, right? It's not perfect. It's not good enough. Therefore, you can't possibly do it to completion because it's not good enough. It's not perfect. So procrastination can go hand in hand with perfection paralysis. So stepping back again, I want to ask you, if you're stuck in perfection paralysis, whose standards are you using? Right? Are you trying to be perfect for yourself? And are you defining what perfect means? Are you trying to anticipate what your audience might define as perfect? We who are service providers or artists or someone who is creating things for other people, perhaps you're overthinking what their definition of perfection is, as opposed to presenting what it is that you have to offer. Julie, you say a job worth doing. You heard a job worth doing is worth doing well, taken too much to heart. Yeah, that's a message that a lot of us get growing up. A job worth doing is worth doing well, right? That's definitely subliminal and will stay with you for a long time. So whose standards are you using? And think about this. Are they your standards or are they standards that you inherited, right? And by this age, it would behoove you to start thinking about whose standards you are using. Woody Allen, like love him or hate him, had a phrase that I love. He said, 80% of success in life is just showing up, because so many people don't show up. So if you're holding yourself to a standard that's too high, the fact that you're just showing up means that you're 80 or 90% to the finish line. And if you can embrace that and give yourself a little bit of grace, that might help you get over the perfection paralysis. Do you think that your ultra high standards are the same as your prospects or your audience? So again, let's take a step back. If you have standards that are super high, you can't possibly publish that blog post because it isn't exactly what you want it to be. You knew that paragraph 3 could be redone. It could be the copy could be a little tighter. Whose standards are you? Is this for yourself? Is this for your audience? And if you're an entrepreneur who is growing your business, your first and foremost thought should be, I want to go forward. I want to grow the business. I want to sell more. I want to present more to my audience. It shouldn't be, is it perfect? This is what is slowing you down. So I will bet you that whatever you're saying about paragraph 3 that isn't quite tight and the copy isn't quite where you want it to be, your reader wouldn't notice. Your reader would think paragraph 3 was perfectly fine. And so you are slowing yourself down by crafting the perfect paragraph 3. Loosening up will allow yourself to be less than perfect. You have to give yourself permission to be less than perfect. I had to learn this. Let me get to my story in a second. So in the thought of loosening up, one of the thought processes you might take yourself through, hey, if you're just joining me, let me know that you're here and put your name in the comments so I can say hi. One of the where I got lost here. One of the thought processes that might help you get off of perfection paralysis is, if you go out with something in the world that isn't absolutely perfect and paragraph 3 still isn't as tight as you want it, what's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen, right? Does someone think less of you? Does someone unsubscribe from your mailing list? Does someone turn down a proposal that you're sending out? Think through what the worst case scenarios might be if paragraph 3 isn't perfect, and think about how you're probably overthinking that. Again, your audience, the person who's going to receive whatever it is that you're holding back, their standards, I guarantee you, are not as high as your standards. And you are presenting yourself, you're putting yourself in a situation where you can't possibly succeed because your standards are too high. Your audience is far more embracing and giving and forgiving than you could ever be of yourself. So I learned a major lesson in this. This was sort of mind-blowing. I used to work in a media buying agency. When I was back in corporate, I was working for a media buying agency, and we bought, we had to present huge media plans to the companies that they were working for, Cisco and Symantec and all kinds of agencies. And we would put together these ginormous spreadsheets and with pivot tables and multiple tabs and all in presenting them a plan for how we were going to spend their media budget. And these took a lot of time to put together, a lot of time to craft, a lot of research went into these. And I remember doing one proposal for a very large new client, and it was enormous. It was just enormous. And there was a lead fellow on the account and I was his underling, and the thing was due on Friday, and we weren't ready yet. And Friday at noon, he said to us, "We're presenting this at 3:00. Wherever we are is what we're presenting, because we have a deadline and we have a budget that we have to allocate towards. And I don't care how imperfect it is, it's going out the door to that client." And I started to argue with him, yeah, but. And he said, the point is, we do the job we've been asked to do within the budget, within the time frame. That's success. That's perfection. If we do it on budget and on time, that's perfection, or that's success. Anything else is your filter, and it's irrelevant. And I thought, oh my God, that was just mind-blowing to me, where you do something because you say you're going to do it on time, on budget, and you get it out the door. So it didn't bother him that it wasn't absolutely perfect, and the client absolutely loved it. What if they hadn't loved it? They might have come back and said, in the second tab on line 45, we can do a better job, or gee, that looks awful on tab 5. We can tweak it, right? We can adjust. But the point was being on time and on budget. And that was such a lesson to me, that perfection is in the eye of the beholder. It's not me saying it's got to be totally perfectly on point before I get it out the door, because the person who's receiving it has a different set of standards than I do. And I'm always going to have a higher standard than the recipient might. So my favorite phrase, aside from imperfect action, is done is better than perfect. And getting it done is the point. And if you are finding yourself procrastinating, postponing, not getting things done, take a step back. And I've said that so many times in this session, but think about, why is it that you're not getting this done? Why is it that you're holding yourself to such an unattainable standard, right? What is it about perfection that is so unachievable? Let me finish by saying, there's no such thing as perfect. You're always going to tweak. You're always going to find fault. You're always going to have things that could be improved, and that's okay. So getting stuff done is better than getting it done perfectly, because, Ms. Solopreneur and Entrepreneur, you are moving forward. And as if you follow me and you listen to all of these Facebook Lives, one of the things I talk about frequently is baby steps. You have to take the next step to achieve whatever your goal is. So imperfect action, if it gets you off your butt into the next step of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, that's what has to happen. You can go back later and tweak. You can go back later and rethink, but imperfect action is what's going to get you out the door and get you finalized to a point where you can move on to whatever the next right step is. That was it. That was short and sweet. Have you guys had experience with imperfect action that you want to share? Would love to hear it. It's one of my favorite phrases, because I'm one of those people who is always in imperfect action. I'm at the other end of the spectrum, where I don't think about the details to the point that trips me up. So I'm always sort of in ready, fire, aim mode. And it's done me well, but I see people and clients and students who are just struggling with perfection. I just want to, push them out the door and just say, it's good enough, it's good enough, it's good enough. So done is better than perfect is a mantra that I subscribe to. So if this is one of the things that bugs you, let's hop on a call. I'll be glad to do that with you, to talk you through what this is. And my last thought is, if you have not signed up for the Solo to CEO Launchpad coming up September 14th, please join me. And I'll put the links to both of those things in the description above the video as soon as I file it. And that's what I have to say about imperfect action. Anybody else have a comment? you guys. Just did with my website. Yeah, you did, Julie. You just finished your website. You did it, then went back and added to it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes just getting the first copy, the first draft, the first something done is what allows you to go back later and tweak. But unless you get that first thing done, I don't know if you know Anne Lamott. She's a wonderful writer, and she talks about doing a shitty first draft. Just sit down and spit out a first draft, and it's going to be horrible. But until you get the first draft done, you can't edit it. You can't go forward. You can't make improvements. So imperfect action at its best. That's it for me, kids, unless you have something you want to add. Thank you for joining me today for this quickie. And as I said, I'll circle back later and look at any comments that come in later. So sorry about the glitches. I had some technical glitches. I hope this went through. But I will talk to you soon. And this will be in the stream later if you want to watch the replay. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.